Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today we will conclude this chapter, chapter number 5, Purush Sukta confirmed. The remaining verses 39 to 46. We have dedicated almost 4 sessions, 4 classes on this seemingly very technical chapter, at least in the beginning. There have been some stories in this chapter uh, in the previous class where we saw that Brahmaji shares his own experience with his son Narad Muni. And then the other discussion about how it is not possible to completely know the Lord, that was also a little bit uh, not so technical. But relatively otherwise, this chapter has been a bit technical, so we had spent a good amount of time. I hope that was worth it to make this chapter understandable. Specifically, when we read this verse from Bhaktir Samrat Sindhu, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana Bhakti Ruchyate. So, where it is mentioned that Rishikena and Rishikesha. So, Rishikena means by the senses, using the senses, we need to serve the Rishikesha, serve the master of the senses. So, personally, whenever I have read this verse in my previous studies of various scriptures, including Bhaktir Samrat Sindhu or maybe Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada quotes this verse number of times. So, calling Lord Krishna as the master of senses, although I accepted it on the authority of Srila Prabhupada, that this description is uh, good, but certainly there was lack of realization, lack of appreciation. However, after reading this 6th chapter of the 2nd canto, where we have clearly seen that everything that we see in this universe is actually coming from the Lord, and how literally everything actually is coming from the Lord itself is demonstrated in this chapter. So now the appreciation of this verse, Rishi Kena Rishi Kesha, is much more better, much more deeper, and I can relate to it after reading this specific description in the 6th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is something which I would call as an achievement in terms of going deeper in our realization, at least my realization. I hope you also, the devotees who are attending this class, is also feeling the same. So with that, maybe we will start our journey once again to finish this chapter. Overall, this is our 71st class. For others who are new to our sessions, either on YouTube or in live classes, if they want to listen to our previous classes, they can go to our YouTube channel, Gita Online Study. Go to the playlist. There are several playlists, and you can access to these classes in the past that we have delivered. So with that, we start the discussion. So maybe once again, I would request for volunteers to recite the Mangalacharan prayers, because our Rakesh Prabhu, who is doing this duty of allocating this service to our various devotees, is on leave
I
at
can
the moment. So,
I can
yeah. Okay, Prabhu, please go ahead.
yeah. Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Sakshururmilatamyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam सह गण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सह गण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते सप्त कांचन संक सप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Yes, Prabhuji.
ओम ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा। थैंक यू प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will do the recap of the previous class. So let me do the recap this time. And when Rakesh Prabhu is back and he's allocating this to various devotees, we can once again switch back to our old routine of requesting devotees to do the recap. So we had covered in the previous class verses starting from 23, and we went all the way to verse number 38. So from verse number 23 to 38, the section of this chapter of Canto 2, chapter 6 of Canto 2 is divided into three different themes. So the first theme is from verse number 23 to 30th, where Brahmaji is sharing his personal experience that the Lord is the material cause. So far, from verse number 1 till you may say 16 in this chapter, this fact has been established mainly by Brahmaji through, you can say, Shabd Praman. Like he's explaining to Narad Muni that this is what it is. That is how he's giving instruction or giving response to Narad Muni, that Lord is the material cause of this universe. In the 17th verse, he also mentioned that the Lord is also the effective cause. So we have discussed in our previous class what is the difference between material cause and effective cause. So I'll not go into that detail. But in verse number 23 to 30th, Brahmaji is now giving his own experience how the Lord is the material cause. And that's where he says, he relates to his own experience. He tells to his son Narada that when I appeared from the lotus, I could not see any ingredients for sacrifice other than the limbs of the Lord. Now, when I appeared from the lotus, I could not see any ingredients for sacrifice other than the limbs of the Lord. So, you know the story how Lord Brahma took birth. Through the navel of the Lord, there emanated a lotus, and on that lotus he took birth. And immediately he got this inspiration from the heart that he need to do some sacrifice, and he could see around here and there, could not see anything from where to get the ingredients for the sacrifice for that yajna. Ultimately, he got this inspiration to get these sacrifice ingredients from the limbs of the Lord. So that is what is being discussed here. Then, uh, then Lord Brahma says that I arranged for those ingredients to the Lord's limbs, and through them performed the sacrifice. So he collects these ingredients from the Lord's limbs. So here Brahmaji is presenting Pratyaksh Praman. Pratyaksh Praman means as he actually did. Uh, Generally, the way we work in the spiritual education is we hear through the ears, we try to understand that knowledge, and over the years, over the time, by practicing devotional service, by doing various activities of devotional service, some service to some devotees, service to the Lord, and many, many other things, we get this realization that this knowledge is true. So the Shabda ultimately has to transform into Pratyaksha. For example, when we hear about the Lord continuously, regularly, through the authorized sources, through some nice devotees, ultimately the experience that we have is that we feel some purification in our heart. Our heart feel very much satisfied by regularly hearing these Harikatha. So we then read from the scripture that what does Shravanam and Kirtanam means. Shravanam means, Kirtanam means purification of the heart. And we also experience in our life. So that is called Shabda getting transformed into Pratyaksha. So similarly, Brahmaji is uh, Brahmaji is giving the same uh, experience that he is experiencing, that the ingredients came from the Lord's body. That is Pratyaksha. So before he just established through Shabda, now he is establishing to Narad Muni through Pratyaksha that Lord is the material cause, like that. So then we also discussed the second theme, verse number 31 to 33, Yad Adhishthanam and Yat Param. Yad Adhishthanam means shelter. Param means dependence. Param means who is the supreme. So Narad Muni had asked this question: who is the creator? Are you the supreme creator, my dear father? Or is there someone else? Because I have seen sometimes you are also meditating upon someone. So is there someone else? So Yat Param, are you the supreme? So the answer is given by Brahmaji. He says, all the universes are situated in the Lord, but Lord is beyond the universe. So Lord is emanating all these universe from his body. But since the universes are coming from the body of the Lord, it does not mean that they are of the same nature as the body of the Lord. So Lord is spiritual, Satchid Anand Vigraha. But the universes that emanate from the body of the Lord are material in nature. So how do we explain this difference, that something which is coming from Lord's body is not of the same quality or the same nature like Lord's body? So we gave this analogy of O plus blood donor, where we explained to you that if someone comes to an office where the office of a great person, of a very rich person, the person himself has a B positive blood group, but the person who comes to his office is requesting that, can you give me some blood? The blood that I require is O plus uh, group. Then he says that my blood group is B positive, but I can arrange for it. Then he calls in his office and finds some of his staff who has O positive blood, and then the O positive blood is donated. So who actually donated the blood? Uh, you can say that the person who donated O positive blood is the actual donor, but we can also say that it was the CEO who actually donated the blood, because he arranged for it, he influenced. So like that, so the Lord influences through his energies, uh, and that is what it means. The Lord is beyond. Hmm. Lord is beyond. Lord is controlling everything. Everything is coming from the Lord, but still uh, everything material creation is, the Lord is beyond that material creation. So we understood that with the help of this nice analogy. Then this is what he explains, Yad Adhishthanam. So everything is sheltered in the Lord. Uh, that is what Yad Adhishthanam means. That is the answer. Then Yat Param. So Brahmaji is saying that only by his power, Brahmaji is creating, Lord Shiva is destroying, and he himself is maintaining. So we discussed when we read this verse is that it proves the superiority of Lord Vishnu over Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. This verse is something which proves. This is the 32nd verse. And another point that it proves is that Sanatan Dharma is not a polytheistic religion. It is a monotheistic religion. Like uh, many times there is a debate that Hindu religion has many gods. 33 crore Devi Devta hai. There are multi god. It's a multi god religion, but it's not a multi god religion. Ultimately, it is a single god religion. It's a monotheistic religion. And you can quote this verse where Brahmaji is confirming that only by his power I am creating, Lord Shiva is destroying. So, and he maintains himself like that. Then ultimately, to explain Yat Param, Brahmaji is saying he is the cause of all causes. He is the cause of all causes. Sarva Karan Karanam. So we understood that how uh, from material nature, from Mahat Tattva comes the, from Pradhana comes the Mahat Tattva comes the Ahankara comes the Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Dravya Shakti. And like that we have discussed. So there is a uh, Pradhana is the cause of Mahat Tattva is the cause of Ahankara, but ultimately he is the cause of the all causes. Like that we have discussed this point also. Yat Param, who is the supreme? He is the ultimate cause. Then from 34 to 38, Brahmaji might be thinking that my son Narad Muni might feel that, or Narad Muni might question Brahmaji that I have heard about multiple explanations about the existence of the supreme power or the supreme lord or the absolute truth. So how should I believe what you are saying is the ultimate, is the best possible answer, or is the most true answer? How can I believe you? So Brahmaji is giving these explanations to Narad Muni. He's saying that I hold the Lord with great zeal in my heart. Therefore, my words are never false. Working of my mind is not false. My senses are never distracted. So Brahmaji is giving a very good answer. He's saying that because I hold the Lord with great zeal in my heart. Hriday Utkantya Vata. Hriday Utkantha Vata. Vata means like. Utkantha means with lot of eagerness, and Hriday means in the heart. So here you can see, you can experience, you can sense there is a uh, kind of a devotion in the words of Lord Brahma. So he's saying because he's devoted to the Lord, that's why his words have never been false. His mind has never been distracted, and his senses are never disturbed or distracted like that. So that is the answer Brahmaji gave. He further continues. He says, I cannot understand the Lord fully, although I am expert in Vedic wisdom, filled with austerities, worshipped by Prajapatis, and expert in yoga. So Brahmaji is trying to give his biodata to Narad Muni. Say, you think that I may go wrong? Let me give you a little biodata. So it might sound that Brahmaji is sounding a little proud, but not. He's not feeling proud, but he's trying to only relate some facts. Uh, So if a CEO of a company travels in an aeroplane and somebody sitting next to the CEO of company asked him, maybe Dhirubhai Ambani or maybe Mukesh Ambani, sir, how much wealth do you have? And he quotes that I have several billion dollars. Doesn't mean that he's feeling proud. He's simply stating the fact. So here Brahmaji is simply stating the fact. He's saying that I'm expert in the Vedic wisdom. How? How Brahmaji is expert in the Vedic wisdom? The Vedas itself comes from the mouth of the Lord Brahma, filled with austerities. He was the first one to do austerity after creation on the inspiration of the Lord, and worshipped by Prajapatis, expert in yoga. Nobody else can claim to have these kind of elements in their biodata. Only Brahmaji can claim. So he is not a ordinary jiva. He is the first jiva. He's a great devotee of the Lord. Then he says that not only me, even the Lord himself does not know himself completely. How can you think that some demigods or some sages, some rishis, munis will know him better? I am the first person. This is my qualification. How can you expect that somebody else will know him better? Even the Lord does not know him completely, because I gave you the analogy of a very rich person. If a rich person looks at its bank balance, the moment he looks at its bank balance, 2 seconds later his bank balance has grown because of the interest. So he may know it now. Like similarly, the Lord glories, he may know. He is fully potent to know the Lord himself. But the very next moment, his glories are expanding. He once again has to recalibrate his powers to understand his own glory, like that. So then Brahmaji is kind of giving this message that don't bother much about to know the Lord. It is best that we start glorifying him to Shravan and Kirtanam. So like that, the sole message from this session is that uh, uh, we cannot understand the Lord completely, but we can understand the Lord partially if we try to glorify Him, if we try to take shelter of Him through devotional service. So that is the small summary of the previous session. We continue the journey now. We go to other parts. So before that, we go to this part. We'll just complete this session here. The 6 questions by Narad Muni about the universe. So you can see 5th chapter, 14th verse, 5th chapter, 6th chapter, 31st verse, 5th chapter, 21 to 35th verse. Now question number 5 is 5th chapter and 6th chapter, 32nd verse. So like that, you can see all other questions have been answered. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. 4th one still pending. Now the 4th one you will see will be answered in the 39th verse. So let us see the 39th verse. Go to that slide quickly. Yes, here we are. Now, before we start the discussion, may I request some of the devotees to kindly volunteer to read with me?
Hare Krishna,
Anyone?
Prabhuji.
So is that Charumati Mataji speaking?
This is Vrindavaneshwari,
Oh,
Prabhuji.
this is Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. You seem to have some cold.
No. I'm perfectly fine by your
Okay.
prayers and blessings, Prabhuji.
Okay, good.
I just got, like, there were some family functions in previous 2 classes.
Okay,
So,
never mind. Okay, so you will recite. Anyone else? Maybe one more.
I can do
can
it.
do it, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we have 2 people, Jivan Prabhu and Charumati Mataji. Okay, so we'll decide, we will distribute between 3 people, 3 devotees. Okay, so Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, kindly chant together with me.
yeah.
39th verse. Sa esha adyah purushah
Sa esha adyah purusha
kalpe kalpe srajatyaja
kalpe kalpe srajatyaja
at atmatmana yatmanatmanam
atmatmana atmanatmanam
sa samyachati pati cha.
sa samyachati pati cha.
Thank
Mahavishnu, without birth, the soul of all beings creates, maintains, and destroys himself, the universe, by himself, in himself.
So it's a very interesting verse. You will see a very sweet use of Atma here, which makes it difficult to pronounce and sometimes very elegant also to pronounce. Those who can practice it properly. Atmanya, Atmana, Atmanam, Atmanya, Atmana, Atmanyam. So like that. So there are 4 times Atma has come. Atma, Atmanya, Atmana, Atmanam. Like that. So the message from this verse is that first of all, in the previous verse, like in the 30th verse, we see Lord Brahma is saying that let us offer our respectful obeisances unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose incarnations and activities are chanted by us for glorification, though he can hardly be fully known as he is. So he talks about glorification, and that's what he starts doing it in the 39th verse. He starts to glorify the Supreme Lord. Now, who is actually he's glorifying? Who is the main immediate authority for Lord Brahma? So Lord Brahma immediate authority is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He comes from the navel of the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And who is the authority of Garbhodakshai Vishnu in that sense? Although they are no different, but Garbhodakshai Vishnu is coming from Karanodakshai Vishnu. Karanodakshai Vishnu expands and enter into various universes, and that's how Garbhodakshai Vishnu comes. So he is saying, Sa Esha Adyaha Purushaha. Adyaha means he's the first person. He's the first person. So he's actually referring here to Karanodakshai Vishnu. Sa Esha Adyaha Purushaha. Because of the word Purusha and Adyaha, we understand that he is referring here to Karnadakshayi Vishnu. Kalpe Kalpe. Kalpe Kalpe means that after the end of every Kalpa, so after the end of Brahmaji's life, there is some destruction. There is destruction of the universes. And he's saying Kalpe Kalpe Srajatya Jaha. Srajatya Ajaha. Ajaha means unborn. So Mahavishnu is the another name for Karnadakshayi Vishnu, who is without birth, the soul of all beings. Adyaha Purushaha. Srajati Ajaha. Ajaha is already there without birth. Srajati means creates. Atman, Atma, Atmanya, Atmana, Atmanam. Sa Samyachati Paticha. So he says that he creates, maintains, and destroys himself, by himself, in himself. So, first of all, Srajati means creation, then Pati means maintenance, and Samyachati means destruction. So, what does it mean? Ajaha Atma. So, Ajaha Atma means he is actually the he's a unborn person. He's the unborn. So, Ajaha Atma. Then Atmani, Atmanam, Atmanam, like that. So he maintains and destroys himself. When he says he destroys himself, what does it mean? Destroys himself means the universe, because the universe is no different from the Lord, because it comes from the Lord. So it is no different from the Lord in the sense that because it has come from the Lord, but qualitatively it is material in nature and the Lord is spiritual in nature. So in that sense it is different, but since it is coming from the Lord, it is no different from the Lord. So he destroys himself, the universe. So when he says destroyed himself, the himself actually referring here to the universe. So one of the Atma is actually referring to the universe. And then by himself, in himself. By himself means he does it. It is done by his direction. And in himself means that when the universe is destroyed, everything actually rests within his body only. So like that, he starts this glorification by explaining that how the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu creates, how he maintains, and how he destroys, like that. So, and by speaking this verse, he is also answering Narad Muni's fourth questions, Yat Samstham. Yat Samstham means how does it conserves, how the universe gets conserved. How conserve means that on destruction, where do you keep it? Where do you store it? Where does it rest? How after dissolution of the universe, what happens to it? So that is the answer given here is he destroys himself by himself in himself. He is the person who does it. He destroys himself means he destroys this universe, and after destruction, where does the universe rest? In himself. Atma, Atmanya, Atma, Nat Atmanam, like that. So with that, we move to the 40th one. Now, in this particular verse, Lord Brahma expands his glorification of the Lord. Now, in this verse, he's speaking about the qualities of the Lord. And Prabhupada uses this verse as an opportunity to refute Mayavad. So, we will see what are the different points that Prabhupada ji uses from this verse to refute Mayavad. But before that, we chant this verse. Mataji, please do it. Vishuddham
Yes.
kevalam jnanam
Vishuddham kevalam jnanam
pratyak samyagavasthitam
pratyak samyagavastitham
satyam purnam anadyantam
satyam purnam anadyantam
nirgunam nityam advayam.
nirgunam nityam advayam. The personality of Godhead is pure, being free from all contaminations of material tinges. He is the absolute truth and the embodiment of full and perfect knowledge. He is all pervading, without beginning or end, and without rival.
Yeah. Okay. So now here the qualities of Lord has been given. What are those qualities? Let us see. Vishuddham Kevalam. Vishuddham Kevalam means he is only pure and pure and pure. So Vishuddham Kevalam. And then Jnanam Pratyak Samyak Avasthitam. So the personality of God is pure, being free from all contaminations of material tinges. He is the absolute truth and the embodiment of full and perfect knowledge. Jnanam Pratyak Samyak Avasthitam. Embodiment of full perfect knowledge. Samyak. Jnanam Pratyak Samyak. Samyak. Samyak means complete. Pratyak means all pervading. And perfect knowledge. He is all pervading. Pratyak. Without beginning or end. Anadi Anantam. Anadi Antam. And then without beginning or end and without rival. Nityam. Nityam is eternal. And then Advayam. Advayam means without any rival. He is the embodiment of the full and perfect knowledge. He is all pervading. All pervading is Pratyak, without beginning or end, Anadi Antam, and without rival. Without rival means Advayam. So here Nityam is also there. Nityam would mean eternal. So like that, the various qualities of the Lord has been given. And Srila Prabhupada uses this verse mainly to criticize the philosophy of Mayavadis. So, what is Mayavad? Can anyone explain to me? Anyone briefly? The best explanation is that if you can refer to the definition or the name itself and then make the explanation. So, what is Mayavad? What do you mean by Mayavad?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Vinayak Prabhu. Yes.
Prabhu, Mayavadis are one who are not thinking absolute truth as they are thinking, they are emerging. I mean, they are along with them merging with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they don't believe in the God being separate. They don't believe in the form.
Don't believe in the
Form of the Lord.
form of the Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, they don't believe in the form of the Lord, but is that Mayavad? Where is the word Maya? What does it mean by Maya here?
I mean,
That
they are being,
which is
I mean, they are in Maya, Prabhu, illusion. That's why they are thinking like that.
They are in Maya. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other explanation? So Vinayak Prabhu has given some.
Maya means that which is not. That is the there is no God. Everything that has emanated is coming from the matter.
Okay. So what does Mayavad philosophy means?
Brahma Satya Jagat
Means the universe originated from matter. It is of matter, by the matter, and that's it.
Prabhu, they also think they are also God. That is one more thing which is not another this thing, no? In our this thing.
Okay.
They think they are God and they are merged with the God.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the
I
basic.
mean, we are circulating around, but we are still not coming to the bull's eye. So you see that archery competition where the archers throw these arrows. So sometimes the arrows are hitting around the bull's eye, not on the bull's eye.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, these words, Nirvisheshvad, Mayavad, they are pretty confusing for me sometimes.
Yeah. So
Hare
try.
Krishna,
Yes,
Yeah.
Jayamala Mataji. Yes, yes. Please.
Prabhu. In the context of the word Mayavad, the people who believe in the impersonalist theory, that is Mayavad, they think that when the Lord descends in the material world, he comes under the influence of the material modes and he takes a material body. That is Mayavad.
Okay, so what is Maya here?
Maya is matter?
Yes, Maya is the matter. The three modes is Maya. Devi hi esha gunmayi, mama Maya durattaya.
Yes.
So Maya is the gunmayi. Maya is actually gunmayi. So they think, so the Mayavadis, so that is Mayavad. Mayavad means that when the absolute truth, when it comes to the world, then they like the living entity accepts a body, a material body, similarly, this absolute truth also accepts a body which is made up of matter, which is made up of Maya, which is Gunmayi, which is made up of three modes, like Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, like that. Although they think that it is made up of Sattva, they don't call it, it is made up of Rajas and Tamas. But whatever it is, they still think that it is made up of matter. So accepting matter is actually kind of a contamination. So Mayavad philosophy means Lord accepts material body when taking avatar. And taking material body is something like a contamination. It's something like a ashuddhi. But here in this particular verse we see Brahmaji saying Vishuddham Kevalam. Vishuddham Kevalam. Not only Shuddham Kevalam, it is Vishuddham Kevalam. Vishuddham means it is even more, the degree is even higher. Vishuddham Kevalam. So Vishuddham Kevalam would mean that when the Lord, and then again in the same verse it is Nityam. So Vishuddham Kevalam Nityam. So Nityam means eternal and Vishuddham Kevalam means completely pure, always pure. So if something is always pure, how can it come in the influence of Maya and accept a Maya body made up of Maya, body made up of matter? So Srila Prabhupada uses this verse mainly to refute Mayavad. And then he again takes another argument from Mayavadis. He says that when the soul, when the Atma is covered by Ajnana, then it is designated as Jiva. But when it is freed from nescience, when it is freed from Ajnana, then it merges back into the impersonal existence of absolute truth. So impersonal existence of absolute truth is Brahmajyoti. So when the soul is in Ajnana, is in nescience, then it is designated as Jiva. And when it is freed from nescience, it once again goes back and merges into the impersonal absolute truth and becomes one with the absolute truth. So like Vinayak ji was mentioning short while ago, that they become one with the absolute truth. They become God, like that. But here again this argument doesn't hold true, where it says Jnanam Samyak Avasthitam. Jnanam Samyak Avasthitam. Samyak means, or sorry, Jnanam Pratyak Samyak Avasthitam. Pratyak means and Samyak means completely. So it is fully, completely in knowledge. It is not that one point of time it becomes devoid of knowledge and then once again it becomes full of knowledge and then it gets liberated. No, it is Samyak Jnanam Pratyak Samyak Avasthitam. It is always in knowledge and full knowledge. Pratyak. Samyak. Samyak means complete, full knowledge. So Jnanam Pratyak Samyak Avasthitam. His Pratyak. Pratyak means he's all pervading. He's everywhere. He's everywhere in the heart of living entities. Or everything that we see in this material universe actually comes from him. So it is in that sense everywhere. So these two arguments that are given by the Mayavadis is refuted through this particular verse. So you can maybe note down in your books that you can use this verse to defeat the Mayavad argument, like that.
So Darwin's theory is Mayavad.
Darwin theory is Mayavad. Darwin theory is Mayavad, I cannot say. So Darwin theory is mainly saying that it's the law of what does it say? Law of evolution. Law of evolution.
Yeah.
Law of evolution.
Yes.
So, but we don't see that law of evolution. Evolution means that there was once upon a time there was an inferior living entity.
Yes.
And that inferior living entity actually became a little more superior.
Yes.
And then it became even more superior.
Yes.
And then it became even more superior. Ultimately, it became like human beings, which we see right now. But that
also, it says that life originated from matter.
Life originated from matter, but that is not Mayavadis. Mayavad is that the impersonal Brahman, which is the absolute truth according to the Mayavadis. Mayavadis says that absolute truth is Brahman. Okay.
Okay.
When we talk about this word absolute truth, what do you mean by the word absolute truth?
No truth is greater or equal to it.
No, we need to have very precise definitions. So
Some
you should
origination, like the absolute truth is from where everything originated.
That is the definition. Satyam param dhimahi.
Yeah.
Satyam param dhimahi. So so that is where janmadhyasya yataha, like you read the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the definition of absolute truth, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, isn't it? That's how you start that verse. It
Yes.
doesn't say Om Namo Brahma Jyoti Namaha. Doesn't say like that. Or Om Namo Brahma Namaha. That doesn't say like that. It says Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I pay obeisances to Lord Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, son of Vasudev. And then in the end it says Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate upon that absolute truth. Satyam Param, Param Satya. And then the verse starts with Janmadhyasya. What are the qualities of this absolute truth? Janmadhyasya. Janmadhyasya means from where everything comes.
Yes.
So from everything comes, Bhagavatam's conclusion is that everything comes from Lord Krishna.
Yes.
But the Mayavadi philosopher says that everything comes from Nirvishesh Brahman, from Brahma Jyoti.
Okay.
So Brahma Jyoti is the absolute truth according to them.
Yeah.
When Lord Krishna comes, he actually comes from Brahma Jyoti. He gets the influence, under the influence of Maya, accepts a material body, and then comes to the material world. That's what the philosophy of Mayavadi is. But we say that everything comes from Lord Brahma, including Brahma Jyoti. So Brahmano hi pratisthaham. Lord Krishna says in Gita 14:27, Brahmano hi pratisthaham. I am actually the basis of Brahman, the impersonal Brahman, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
So that is what this verse is saying, that Lord is free from all contamination, absolute truth. He is the absolute truth. He is the Satyam, Satyam Purnam, like that. So then Prabhupada also gives few other examples that where the Mayavadis is saying that that the jiva, how does the jiva comes? Because it becomes contaminated with matter, and that's how it comes to the world. Or sorry, the Lord becomes contaminated with matter, with Maya, and then that's how he takes avatar. But you remember Ishopanishad? In Ishopanishad, we understood Lord is Shuddham Apapaviddham.
Yes.
Shuddham Apapaviddham. So Shuddham Apapaviddham means what? It is Shuddham. It is completely pure. It is Apapaviddham. It has no contamination associated with it. And then Lord is also sometimes compared with sun. So what is the quality of sun? If you have anything uncontaminated, if you have anything contaminated, you put under the sun actually purifies it.
Yes.
The sun purifies it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but the sun does not need its own purification. So how do we do the sterilization in the hospitals?
Sunshine.
Dr. Ishwar, sir, uncle, how do we do the sterilization in the hospitals? Is he there? Yes, Prabhu. How do you do the sterilization?
Sterilization, the instruments and the linen, they are treated with steam under pressure.
Steam under pressure.
Yes.
Very high temperature.
Yes.
Yeah, very high temperature, isn't it?
Yes.
So now, fire would have. How do you create this steam? You create this steam using fire, or maybe some electricity. Some electricity, isn't it? So, and how do you purify fire? Fire actually is itself pure. You don't need to purify fire, isn't it? So similarly, the Lord is compared to the sun. Sun is all all purifying. Sun, it's pure in itself. So you don't need to purify the sun. So similarly, Prabhupada is using this verse as that it is the verse that can be used to refute Mayavad. And then there are other words like Pratyak. Pratyak means all pervading. So Lord is everywhere, but Jiva is not everywhere. Jiva cannot be everywhere. Lord is situated in everybody's heart. So he can be everywhere. He is also everywhere in the form of its material creation, like it is present in the every atom. But we cannot say the same for the Jiva. So it's Pratyak. And then Advayam. Advayam means he has no rivals. He has all the opulences in full. So like that, Prabhupada is using this verse mainly to differentiate between the Jiva and the Lord, and also uses this verse as an opportunity to refute various philosophies of Mayavad. Okay, we move forward. How to know him? So please recite with me, Mataji.
Yes.
Rishe vidanti munayah
Rishaye Vedanti Munaya
prashantatmendriyashayah
Prashantatminindriyashaha
yada tadeva saktastar
Yada Tadeva Sattairkis
yada tadeva satatarkais
Yada Tadeva Satarkis
tirodhiyeta viplutam.
Tirodhiyeta Viplutam. O Narada, O great sage, the great thinkers can know him when completely freed from all material hankerings and when sheltered under undisturbed conditions of the senses. Otherwise, by untenable arguments, all is distorted and the Lord disappears from our sight.
So here Brahmaji is explaining that how this Lord can be known. In the previous verses, he has mentioned that Lord cannot be completely known, and then he gives this idea about let us glorify him. And again, the same theme he's expanding here in this 41st verse, that he's saying Rishe. Rishe is being used for Narad Muni. O Narad, O great sage. Vidanti Munayaha. Munayaha means the great thinkers. Munaya word comes from mana. Mana is used for thinking. So Munaya means great thinkers can know him when completely freed from all material hankerings. Prashant Atma Indriya Ashayah. Prashant Atmendriya Ashayah. So when sheltered, Ashayah means taking shelter. Prashant Atma Indriya. So when the Indriyas, when the senses are completely prashant, when they are completely freed from hankerings. Yada tad eva sat tarkais. Yada tad eva tas ev asat tarkais. Then otherwise by untenable arguments, all is distorted. Tirodhiyata viplutam. And the Lord disappears from our sight. And the Lord disappears from our sight. Tirodhiya. Tirodhiya means he disappears. And viplutam means untenable arguments. Tirodhiyeta viplutam. Now here Brahmaji is saying that how we can know the Lord. He's saying that only the prashanta. Prashanta means completely shant, completely peaceful, completely at peace. Pure devotees. So here prashant is being used, Srila Prabhupada explained this as pure devotees. Only the pure devotees can know the Lord to some extent. Devotees are called as prashant. Why? Because devotees do not have any other desire except to serve the Lord. That is how we define the devotees. Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Navratam. So devotees are completely desireless in that sense. They don't have any material desire, neither desire for any fruitive results, nor desire for any impersonal liberation, and like that. So other paths, like if somebody is a sakam karmi or fruitive worker, he wants some fruit. The yogi needs some siddhi. The jnani needs to enter into some impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So all of these three categories, karmis, yogis, and jnanis, have some desire. And because they have some desire, they cannot be called as prashanta. Only that person can be called as prashanta who is free from all desires. So if we have desire, we will be always be hankering for something. We need to get this, we need to get this. So that means we cannot be prashanta. That is why the word prashanta here has been explained and translated as pure devotees. So, and then yat tad ev asat tarkais. So we cannot understand the Lord by some useless logic. We cannot understand the Lord through dry logic. We can understand the Lord only through some devotion, only through some proper knowledge. So that is what is actually the meaning of this verse, where Brahmaji is actually trying to say that how can we know him? We can know him through devotional service. We can properly know him through devotional service. We cannot know the Lord through any logic. We have to know him only through some devotion in it. Even the other paths, people of other paths, when they try to know the Lord through some logic, their logic also have some tinge of devotion. Then only they are able to understand the impersonal feature of the Lord. Otherwise, they are not. So that is the explanation. If you read the commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he has given this two verses 40 and 41 a little different twist. He explained this verse that the verse number 40 and 41 are explaining the impersonal aspect of the Lord. So in the verse number 39, the Purusha, the Lord has been explained to be as Mahavishnu, the Purusha avatar. And in the 40th and 41st verse, the Lord has been explained to be as the impersonal aspect of that Lord. And then in the 41st verse, only the Munis and the Rishis can understand the Supreme Lord by controlling the senses. Prashant Atmendriya Ashaya. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur take the meaning of this line Prashant Atmendriya Ashaya as the control of senses and the mind. So there's a little different twist that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives, but ultimately whatever the explanation given by Chakravarti Pad or Prabhupada, they are all both in line with the broader philosophy of the devotional principles, devotional service. You need not worry about that. Okay, now we move to the 42nd verse and we invite our second Jivan Prabhu. Yeah. So Prabhuji, can you please read the text on the screen?
Yeah. So, text number 42 is zone of control. Karanavasayi Vishnu is the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and he is the master of eternal time, space, cause and effects, mind and the elements, the material ego, the modes of nature, the senses, the universal form of the Lord, Garbhodaksayi Vishnu, and the sum total of all living beings, both moving and non-moving.
Now here Brahmaji is now kind of summarizing the explanation that he has given. He's here saying that he's actually the cause of all. Everything comes from him. So Karnadaksha Vishnu is the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Adyo avataraha purushaha parasya. I'm reading the verse in Sanskrit in parallel. And then he is the master of eternal time. Kalaha swabhava sadasan manascha. Well, is the master of eternal time. So you know, time is the energy of the Lord. We have discussed in the previous chapters when we discussed about creation that Lord impregnates this this pradhana with what? With time, with eternal time. Space, cause and effects. Cause and effects. Cause and effect means if there is a cause and there is an effect of a cause or effect of that effect, then effect of that effect. So ultimately everything is coming from the Lord. So he is the master of mind. He is the master of all the five elements. He is the master of material ego, which is ahankar. He is the modes of nature, gunas, the senses, the indriyas, the universal form of the Lord, Virat Roop, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and the sum total of all living beings, both moving and non-moving. So from 42nd verse onwards till next maybe another 3 verses, Brahmaji is kind of describing the chief components the Lord brings into being as he creates the material world in cycles. Like that, whatever different ingredients he brings, different components he brings, he's explaining all that. And that's where he also does in the 43rd, 44th, and 45th. So 42nd, 43rd, 44th, 45th is giving the list of main chief components that he brings to the creation. So please read from here.
Okay. I myself, Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, Daksha, and Prajapati yourselves, Narada and the Kumaras, heavenly demigods like Indra and Chandra, the leaders of the Bhuvarloka planets, the leaders of the earthly planets, the leaders of the lower planets, the leaders of the Gandharva planets, the leaders of the Vidyadhara planets, the leaders of the Charanaloka planets, the leaders of the Yakshas, Rakshas and Uragas, the great sages, the great demons, the great atheists, and the great spacemen, as well as the dead bodies, evil spirits, satans, jinn, Kushmandas, great aquatics, great beasts, and great birds, etc. In other words, anything and everything which is exceptionally possessed of power, opulence, mental and perpetual dexterity, strength, forgiveness, beauty, modesty, opulence, and breeding, whether in form or formless, may appear to be the specific truth and the form of the Lord, but actually they are not so. They are only a fragment of the transcendental potency of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Now you can see here there is a long list given, long list. And what is included in this list? Brahmaji, Shivji, Lord Vishnu, Daksha Prajapati, Narad, four Kumaras, Indra, Chandra, leaders of Bhuvarlok, and Patallok, the leaders of lower planets like Patallok, Gandharva planets, Vidyadhar planets, Charanlok, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Uragas, great sages, demons, great atheists, great spacemen, dead bodies, evil spirits, Satans, Jinn, Kushmandas, great aquatics, beasts, like that. There is a long list given here. But in the end, where we need to focus is may appear to be the specific truth and the form of the Lord, but actually they are not so. They are only a fragment of the transcendental potency of the Lord. So you can see here, in other words, anything and everything which is exceptionally possessed of power. So if you see anything very powerful in this world, or full of opulence, or of full of mental and perceptual dexterity, or strength, forgiveness, beauty, modesty, opulence, and breeding, whether in form or formless. So there are multiple agencies that you might see in this world, which some may have a lot of power, some may be very beautiful, some may be very forgiving, some may be very powerful, very full of strength, full of skill, full of modesty, opulence, and so on. So whatever you may see in this world may appear to be the specific truth and the form of the Lord, but actually they are not so. They are only a fragment of the transcendental potency of the Lord. So if you remember in the 10th chapter of the Gita, where Lord is describing his many opulences, in the end he says that whatever great you see in this world, O Arjuna, actually is only the fragment, a small fragment of my unlimited opulence. So something very similar is being mentioned here. Now Prabhupada ji gives a very nice explanation, a very elaborate explanation in his purport. So sometimes in this world you might see there are multiple people, very lot of people who might be worshipping different personalities. And Prabhupada starts his purport by explaining that in the tribals, you might see that when the tribals see there is a lot of lightning, there are great oceans, there are great mountains, etc. These tribals may seem to be worship all these uh, powers of the nature. So from where are all these coming? From where are these mountains, rivers, oceans, uh, lightning, sky, the great things that you see in nature? From where are they coming? Actually, they are coming from the Lord. But are they the Lord? No, they are not the Lord. And that is what they are saying here. May appear to be the specific truth and the form of the Lord, but actually they are not so. They are only a small fraction, only a small fragment of their transcendental potency of the Lord. Again, if you read the purport and go a little bit into detail, Prabhupada mentions this Panchopasana Vidhi is specifically followed by the Mayavadis. So I was explaining briefly a little bit about Mayavad short while ago. What I was mentioning to you is that Mayavadis consider the absolute truth as the impersonal Brahman. But when we go to these temples, uh, we see that these Mayavadi philosophers or Mayavadi worshippers, they are also worshipping various devatas, various forms. And what are typically these forms? These forms are like Durga Devi, or maybe Sun God, or maybe Lord Ganesh, or Lord Shiva, or even Lord Vishnu. So this is known as Panchopasana. Panchopasana means Upasana of 5 deities. Now, what is the philosophy behind this Panchopasana by Mayavadis? The philosophy behind this Panchopasana by Mayavadis is that the absolute truth is impersonal. But since we are embodied living entities, we cannot really understand the impersonal easily. So what do we do is we give these impersonal absolute truth a form and then worship that form. And they worship them, the absolute truth, in 5 forms, typically 5 forms. And what are these 5 forms? Durga Devi, Surya Dev, then Ganesha, then Shiva, and then Vishnu. So you choose according to your taste which one is your favorite, which one you relate with better, and you start worshipping that form. But ultimately, you have to reject this form and go beyond that form to that impersonal absolute truth. That is the philosophy of the Mayavadis. But our philosophy is that Lord Krishna is the absolute truth, and this impersonal Brahman is the uh, Brahma Jyoti emanating, effulgence emanating from the Lord's transcendental form. That is our understanding. We don't say that you have to reject this form and go beyond that form. You don't have to reject this form, you have to go beyond that form. This philosophy of Mayavad is very much prevalent in Hindu society. Typically, you will find, if you want to discuss this feature, who is impersonalist and who is personalist, you only need to ask one question from them. What is your definition of Param Satya? What is your definition of absolute truth? And if that person says, my definition of absolute truth is impersonal Brahman, then you understand that that particular fellow, that particular person is from the impersonalist background. And like for devotees, if you ask, you will get a clear-cut answer. It is Lord Krishna. Who is that absolute truth? That absolute truth is Lord Krishna. Satyam param dhimahi, janmadisya, like that. So, Prabhupada explained these philosophy of different uh, panchopasaks. So, like for example, they would worship Shakti. Shakti means they would worship nature. They would see nature as the extension of the Shakti, Goddess Durga. So, those who are attracted by the power of nature are known as Shaktas. So scientists are also sometimes fall into the category of Shaktas, because scientists also respect nature. They also bow down before nature. When they see nature, the power of nature, they actually bow down before it. So scientists are, in one sense, a similar category of Shaktas. Shaktas are those who get attracted by the power of nature. Then we have Sauryas. Sauryas means those who are worshippers of the sun god. So ultimately, these Shaktas, they progress in their thinking. They think that ultimately it is the the Shakti actually is coming from the sun only. The Shakti, the power in the nature, maybe through the wind or through ocean or through other principles, actually coming from sun god. So they start worshipping, they further graduate and become Sauryas. Sauryas means the worshipper of sun god. Then from sun god, they ultimately start believing that behind the energy of the sun, behind the power of the sun, there is some living entity. There is some living entity, and that living entity actually is represented by Lord Ganesha. So they become the worshippers of maybe some people, and they estimate this Lord Ganesha to be the representing that power. Then Shaivites, ultimately they think that beyond these people there might be some other bigger power, and then they move to worshipper of Lord Shiva, Shaivites, and then ultimately they graduate to Lord Vishnu. But they worship Lord Vishnu something as the subordinate to Brahman, not as the ultimate source of Brahman. So that is the defect in their worship. But ultimately, what I mean to say is, Prabhupada is giving this analogy of Panchopasana in the purport to this verse is primarily to explain this one point, that different personalities that we see mentioned in this verse from 43 to 45, there might be different categories of worshippers who might be worshipping one or more of them. And then Prabhupada also give the analogy of worshippers of Shani Dev. Shani Dev. So sometimes you will see in the society that people who are having not very good time in their material life, they are having some maybe losses in their businesses, or maybe they are having some health problems. So generally they tend to blame Shani or Shani ka prakop. So there might be worshippers of Shani. There might be worshipper of Shitala Devi. Shitala Devi means you might have seen these smallpoxes. So in India, you will find temples of Shitala Devi. I myself have been to such temples. In my family, one of my uncles had this smallpox. So my grandfather and grandmother would often go to these Shitala Devi temple to worship uh, goddess Shitala Devi. So like that, the point is that there might be different kind of powers, opulences, different type of personalities that people might be worshipping, but ultimately Brahmaji is saying that actually they are not the supreme lord. They are only a fragment of the transcendental potency of the Lord. So this is the point that he is trying to express from verse number 43 to 45. Okay, now we go to the next one, 46. So Jivan Prabhu, this will be your last one.
Yeah.
Pradhanyato yandrasha amananti
Pradhanyato yansha amananti
लीलावतारान् पुरुषस्य भूम्नः
लीलावतारान् पुरुषस्य भूम्नः
आपीयतां कर्ण कषायशोषान्
आपीयतां कर्ण कषायान् शोषान्
अनुक्रमिष्यते तत् इमान् सुपेशान्.
अनुक्रमिष्येत इमान् सुपेशान्.
Please read.
Yeah. O Narada, now I shall state one after another the transcendental incarnations of the Lord, known as Leela Avataras. Hearing of their activities counteracts all foul matters accumulated in the year. These pastimes are pleasing to hear and are to be relished. Therefore, they are in my heart.
So now Brahmaji is saying that, my dear son Narad, you asked me a question about creation, who is the supreme creator, etc., etc. And I have very patiently, in chapter number 5 and in chapter number 6, have really answered in elaborate detail all your questions. But now I would like to recite something more to you. What I would like to recite to you is, I would like to recite to you about the Leela Avataras. Leela Avataras. Why I want to do recitation of Leela Avataras? Because hearing of their activities counteracts all foul matters accumulated in the ear. These pastimes are very pleasing to hear, and they are to be relished. Therefore, they are in my heart. So, what Brahmaji is saying that so far I have given you explanation about the Purusha Avtaras, about the creation. So, creation, the description of creation is not very pleasing, although it is purifying. It gives us the idea of a very important potential of the Lord, that He is the supreme creator, He is the supreme Lord. But the kind of mood that we develop by hearing this Purushavtaras is the mood of awe and reverence. Because Purushavtaras is mainly about Aishwarya. Aishwarya means, like there is a very rich person. So the rich person will, how do you know the rich person? The rich person will have a big properties, many states, many cars, bungalows, businesses, bank balances, and so on. So when you hear that, you feel like, oh, I should worship this person. This person is so great. This person is so Aishwaryavan. This person is full of opulence. So that is the kind of mood that you get. So when you hear that kind of a property, or I would say characteristic of the Supreme Lord, you feel like worshipping Him. You feel like worshipping Him. But so that is not very pleasing to the heart. It is purifying to the heart, but not very pleasing to the heart. But what is more pleasing? The, the pleasing aspect of the Supreme Lord is hearing about His activities, hearing about His Leela Avtaras. And what is the impact of hearing about these Leela Avtaras? They are very pleasing to hear. They are very pleasing to hear. So one is Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. The Lord is great. But the another aspect of the Lord is the Madhurya aspect of the Lord. The Lord is very sweet. Lord is very sweet. So when we hear about the pastimes of Lord Krishna stealing butter, and then stealing clothes of the gopis, and then uh, helping Arjuna in his battlefield, and so on, all these activities, when we hear about the Lord, our heart feel very satisfied, very pleased. So, and this has to be relished. Apiyatam. Piyatam means it is to be relished. Piya means it has to be drunk. So when you drink a very nice beverage, or a juice, or maybe some cold drink, very nice, sweet, it is really to be relished. Like lassi, if you drink, it is really to be relished. So you drink it in sweet, in small sips. So apiyatam, and then it is karna kashaya shoshan. Karna kashaya. Kashaya means the impurities. Karna means the ear. Shoshan means to dry up. So if there are some bad things in our ear, when you hear this pleasing katha of the Lord about the Leela Avtaras, all these bad things get shoshan, get dried up. So you need to hear them. They are need to be relished, because they are apiyatam. They are very pleasing. Pleasing means supeshan. Supeshan, very madhur, very sweet to hear. And then they are in my heart. Ta imam, ta iman. So they are in my heart. So now Lord Brahma is saying that I answered your question. Now you hear what I want to speak. So what I want to speak that subject matter that really pleases my heart. And what is that subject matter? That subject matter is the subject matter of Leela Avtaras. So now Brahmaji wants to narrate about Leela Avtaras of the Lord, because he want to please himself. He want to enjoy himself narrating this pastimes of the Lord. So then starts the 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now 7th chapter is again a chapter which is full of lot of verses. So in all, in the 7th chapter, we will have almost 53 verses. So long verses, long chapter. But in these 53 verses, the first 39 verses are only the description about the various incarnations of the Lord. So what are these various incarnations of the Lord? So you would remember when we started discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 3rd chapter, there is a description about the various Leela Avtaras. So the first part of this chapter, chapter number 7, is very much similar to that 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. So the title of this chapter is Scheduled Reincarnations with Specific Functions. Now here I have given you the overview map of the various themes that are there in this chapter. So the first theme is about the various incarnations of the Lord. And then impossible to understand the greatness of Vishnu without mercy. Then from 47 to 49, we have Bhagwan is superior to Paramatma and Brahman. That discussion is there. And then dissemination of this knowledge. So how do we distribute this knowledge? Importance of understanding this, disseminating this knowledge, that is discussed in verse number 50 to 53. So although Brahmaji is quite eager to speak about the incarnations of the Lord, but we will not go into the very lot of detail about these incarnations. Now, there is one verse typically dedicated to each of these incarnations, and we will touch upon this verse in brief. We'll read the description given by the verse. We will read the text, and then we will move on in the interest of time. And there is not much to discuss at the moment in the Bhagavatam on that. Although Brahmaji is really excited to speak about it, but we will touch this a little briefly. So now I invite Charumati Mataji to kindly read the text. Yeah.
Various incarnations of the Lord. Number 1, Varaha. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Garbhodaka, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk.
So you see the tusks of the Lord here. So that is his tusk. And this is the starting of the avatars of the Lord, which is the first. The avatara is the Varaha Avatara. Varaha Avatara or Shukar Avatar, we also call it, or boar incarnation. So there is a brief description given by Srila Prabhupada in his purport. So we will not go into a lot of detail about this incarnation, but the point here is few things we can understand from the description itself, that why this incarnation happened. This incarnation happened mainly to lift the planet Earth, which was drowning in the Garbhodaka ocean. And in the purport, if you read by Prabhupada is saying that these planets like Earth planet and various other planets, normal course of is when these planets are suspended in the space and they are moving in their orbit, like we see in the space. That's what Prabhupada also mentions. But sometimes because of abnormality, because of some imbalance, these planets actually can drown and fall below in the Garbhodaka ocean. And Prabhupada gives this argument, this example of that in the present times, when the humanity is taking out a lot of oil from the earth, from the core of the earth, and burning it as fuel. So this is going to create that imbalance. And in future, what might happen is, because of this imbalance, this earth may not remain suspended in its orbit. It may actually fall down in the Garbhodaka ocean. So some such situation came in the previous times, where the earth planet, because of these imbalances in the nature, drowned in the great ocean, in the Garbhodaka ocean. Then it was needed, someone was needed to lift this ocean, lift this earth once again back from this ocean and place it back into its orbit. So who should do that? Then it is told that this was done by Varahadev, who came as an incarnation, and the specific form of Varaha or the boar is mainly representative of that. Boar actually enters into the filthy regions of the material creation to uh, to 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 explore things in that region. So similarly, Varahadev went down to the Garbhodaka ocean and lifted the earth on its snout, on its snout, on its nathuna. Nathuna means these nostrils, and then lifted it up back and put it into the orbit. So Hiranyaksha was one of the demons who interrupted in this pastime. So the Lord engaged in the fight with this Hiranyaksha demon and killed this demon. So that is brief description of the Varaha incarnation. Then we go to the Suyagya incarnation. So Mataji, please read.
Number 2, Suyagnya. The Prajapati first begot Suyagnya in the womb of his wife Akuti, and then Suyagnya begot demigods headed by Soyama in the womb of his wife Dakshina. Suyagnya as the Indra Deva diminished very great miseries in the three planetary systems, upper, lower, and intermediate. And because he so diminished the miseries of the universe, he was later called Hari by the great father of mankind, namely Swayambhuva Manu.
So there are a lot of details given here, and there are more stories around each of these incarnations, but we will not go into that detail. The other day in the previous class, we discussed about the sacrifice. Lord Brahma narrating this story of how he collected the ingredients for sacrifice from the limbs of the body of the Lord. So there I mentioned that Yagya actually is one of the name of Lord Vishnu. So here you see Suyagya. Suyagya is the name of this incarnation. He is the his name is Yagya, and you can say here the details given in the description of the verse is that who is the father, who is the mother of this incarnation, Suyagya. So Suyagya also took the position of Indradev. So sometimes this universe is ruled by multiple personalities, and each of these personalities are some exalted devotee of the Lord, some exalted living entity in their previous lives. So uh, as a gift or as a reward, the Lord in various yugas, various manvantaras, he chooses one of these personalities, living entities, and give them this post. So sometimes the post of Indra is given to a personality, some living entity. But sometimes when there is no adequate living entity, there is no proper living entity available, then the Lord himself takes up this position. So Suyagya, the name of his father and mother is given Prajapati. His wife Akuti begot this Suyagya, and then Suyagya begot some demigods headed by Suyama in the womb of his wife Dakshina. Then Suyagya as Indradev diminished very great miseries in the three planetary systems. So Suyagya took the position of Indra. And because he so diminished the miseries of the universe, he was later called Hari. So Hari means one who takes away our inauspiciousness. So Suyagya, because he took the inauspiciousness of the planets, of the universe, he was later named as Hari by the great father of mankind, namely Swayambhuva Manu. So Swayambhuva Manu is father of mankind. The word man actually comes from the word Manu or Manushya. Manushya also comes from the word Manu. So Manu was the father of man, father of the mankind in this when the creation happened. So Prabhupada takes this opportunity to explain in the purport that whenever there is an incarnation, it is known that who will be its father and mother. So all these details are mentioned in the scriptures. Like for Suyagya, the name of the father and mother is given. So sometimes in the society, in the material world, we see that some cheap personality starts to claim that I am the incarnation of the Lord. So how to differentiate, how to detect this fraud? Mainly to check the father and the mother. So the details of father and mother are given in the scriptures. If that detail does not match with this imposter, then you can easily rule this person out that he is not the incarnation of the Lord, but only a fraudulent person, like that. Okay, Mataji, please read this.
Third, Kapila Deva. The Lord then appeared as the Kapila incarnation, being the son of the Prajapati Brahmana Kardama and his wife Devahuti, along with 9 other women. He spoke to his mother about self-realization, by which, in that very lifetime, she became fully cleansed of the mud of the metal modes and thereby achieved liberation, the path of Kapila.
So very soon we are going to start our discussion on maybe Canto 3, because we are already on 7th chapter of Canto 2, and there are only 10 chapters. So soon, I think maybe another 2-3 months, probably we'll start the discussion on the Canto number 3, and there we will see the story of Kapil Dev, Lord Kapil Dev. Lord Kapil Dev is very much famous for giving these discourses on self-realization to his own mother, whose name is Devahuti. So they are very deep realization. Prabhupada actually have written separate books, also teachings of Lord Kapil Dev, etc., like that. But we will also go into the lot of detail about wonderful aspects of spiritual wisdom from Kapil Dev. So please wait for some time where we get into the detail. But for the time being, we only understand that Kapil Dev came and spoke about self-realization to his own mother Devahuti. Okay. Fourth.
Fourth, Dattatreya. The great sage Atri prayed for offspring, and the Lord, being satisfied with him, promised to incarnate as Atri's son Dattatreya, Datta, the son of Atri. And by the grace of the lotus feet of the Lord, many Yadus, Hayas, etc., became so purified that they obtained both material and spiritual blessings.
Yeah. So some detail about Dattatreya incarnation. So Dattatreya, the name Datta and Atreya. Datta Atreya, which means he's the son of Atri. So son of Atri prayed. Atri Muni actually prayed for an offspring to the Lord, that you please come. I want to beget you as my son, and I want to serve you as your father. So in that mood of devotion, of fatherly devotion, Atri Muni worshipped the Lord, and the Lord really obliged his devotees' wish, and he appeared in his life as his son. So Datta means who gave him what he wanted. So Atri wanted the Lord to come as his son, and the Lord gave him what he actually wanted. So that means Datta. And because he was the son of Atri Muni, he is known as Datta Atreya or Datta Atri. So Dattatreya, like that. And by the grace of the lotus feet of the Lord, many Yadus and Hayhayas became purified, that they obtained both material and spiritual blessings. So there is a little detail about the pastimes of this Lord, pastimes of this incarnation, that what actually it did. It purified some the Yadus and the Hayhayas. So we'll not go into the detail about it, but similarly, we are going to discuss little briefly what is mentioned in the purport and mentioned in the description here. Okay, so last slide for today. Yeah.
4 Kumaras. To create different planetary systems, I had to undergo austerities and penance, and the Lord, thus being pleased with me, incarnated in 4 Sanas: Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana. In the previous creation, the spiritual truth was devastated, but the 4 Sanas explained it so nicely that the truth at once became clearly perceived by the sages.
Yeah. So 4 sanas. Sanas means the starting sound of their names is Sana. Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana. So Sana, 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 Sana. So Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanandana, and Sanatana, like that. So that is 4 sanas. So what was the special pastime of this incarnation? Chatush Kumara, 4 sanas or four Kumaras.
They
That,
were Brahmavadis,
yeah,
later turned to be devotees.
yeah, they were Brahmavadis, and later they turned to be the devotees of the Lord. So that is a detail of their one of their pastimes. But ultimately, what happened was that Brahmaji, when the previous creation got annihilated, Brahmaji did the new creation, and in the new creation, there was no one to explain the absolute truth. There were no one there to explain about the spiritual truths. And then that activity was taken up by the 4 Kumaras. They underwent austerities at creation, and then they clearly established the spiritual truth, which was lost at the end of the previous kalpa. So that was the main activity they did. They did it so nicely that all the rishis and the sages clearly understood what is the spiritual truth. So this is the 5th incarnation. So we have started this discussion, and we are going to do this maybe till the 39th verse, probably in the next class. So that is the subject matter of the today's class. We will continue with our discussion with the sixth one, which is Nar Narayan Rishis. Till then, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ji. So any comments, any questions, any takeaways, happy to discuss now. Please let me know. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Vinayak Prabhuji.
Prabhu, according to you, then what is the correct definition of Maya? They think that Supreme Lord is material, not transcendental. Is it?
Mayavad means that these class of people believe that the Lord body actually is made up of Maya.
That is material.
That is material.
Yeah.
Material. Maya actually means Gunamayi. Guna means three gunas.
No,
Maya
it is
made up
not
of three
Gunatit, it is Gunamayi, not
It is
Gunatit.
Gunamayi. Not Gunatit,
Yeah.
it is Gunamayi.
Okay.
So that is why it is known as Mayavad. And why they are not able to understand that the Lord is spiritual? Because they think that anything that comes in this material world takes a form, takes a body, and that body is made up of matter. So they extend the same argument to the Supreme Lord, that when the Lord also incarnates, he also accepts a body made up of matter.
Material, okay.
Material body. That is why they are known as Mayavadis. Mayavad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brahmavadis, what is the difference, Prabhu?
Brahmavadis are that they are attracted towards the impersonal feature of the Lord.
Oh, only the feature of the Lord.
They are not against the form of the Lord, but they are more, they may even know about the Lord. They may even know about Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, but they get attracted more towards the impersonal feature of the Lord. Oh, it is so nice. Rather than getting attracted towards the Lord, they get attracted more towards the impersonal aspect of the Lord. So that is where even Shukdev Goswami was like that. But when Shukdev Goswami heard about the pastimes of the Lord, he also got attracted towards the Lord. When four Kumaras smelled the tulsi, the aroma of tulsi emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, they also got attracted towards the Lord. So that is why the Lord is said as even attracting these liberated souls. So bhakti is even higher than the liberation because it attracts even the liberated souls. Atma Ramascha Muniyo Nirgarantha Apyurukrame. And then it ends with Itham Bhuta Guno Hari. That verse we remembered in our study of the first canto, where that Atmaram verse comes. Atmaramascha Muniyo Nirgrantha Apyurukrame. Maybe the third line I'm forgetting, but then the fourth one is Ittam Bhuta Guno Hari. Maybe I can quickly refer to it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, if there is no question, then we kind of conclude our session today. I really appreciate and thank you all for taking time and joining the class. We continue our discussion on this 7th chapter from the next class, that is Sunday. Till then, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
thank you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Jayanti Mataji. Welcome. Yeah.
Continuously, we had Sunday programs, Prabhu. That's why I couldn't attend.
Don't worry. We have recordings.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare